On today's SFA All Access, we'll be discussing one of the fastest growing competitive clubs here at SFA. It's SFA Esports. It's all here on All Access, so stay tuned. Welcome to SFA All Access. I'm your host, Blaine Williamson. The video game industry has grown tremendously in the last 20 years. To date, it has generated almost $87 billion and is only projected to grow. Esports has capitalized on this success as competitive players have formed teams and leagues to sharpen their skills against others. In fact, fans and spectators watch around 300 million hours monthly on Twitch and other online platforms. SFA Esports was created 2 years ago and has grown to over 700 members. Talking with us today is one of the founders and the current sitting Esports President, Mr. Patrick Hullab. Welcome, Patrick. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm all right, man. Today we're going to talk about the Esports Club, which I feel like you should know a thing or two about.
Just a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, all right. So I'm going to dive right into this. So as Esports President, what does esports mean to you and what should it mean to other people?
Esports, in essence, is competitive video gaming. So think of your football, your baseball, how you have these seasons for those games translated into video games. Now, it's a little bit more specified when it comes to what games you're playing. So you have like League of Legends, Overwatch, Halo, to where you're going to have in-country tournaments. You're going to have global tournaments like the LCS that's going on right now, which is the League Championship Series.
Yeah.
Has teams from North America, it has teams from the Pacific, it has teams from Europe, all of them competing to get that #1 world spot.
Wow. And see, so you're one of the founders, right? Was it just you that helped founded?
So no, back in 2019, originally, it was the spring of 2019, walking by the SC, saw the lab, looked amazing. They were having an interest meeting, so I decided to show up because it was something I had a genuine interest in. Show up there, the current president, vice president, some of the other founding admins are up there, and I threw my application their way as a deputy officer, so I basically started out as like a moderator almost for the server and for the organization in total. From there, I've grown tremendously. So I've gone from the deputy officer to the games media manager to the sole media manager to the vice president and now the president.
Oh wow, that's awesome. So what are some of the hurdles you guys faced, like coming through? Like I know there had to be something that you didn't just go all the way skyrocketed to the.
Yeah, there's a lot. Since we are so large, there's a lot to deal with on a daily basis. It's all fun to deal with, it's good to deal with, but we need to make sure we have our platform laid out and that we're very organized in what we're doing so that everybody knows what's happening and when to do it.
Yeah, okay. And so you have like an executive board, I'm assuming. So how many positions are there on the exec board?
So our admin team right now consists of 8 members. We have the president, the vice president, we have a treasurer coming on, 3 community managers, a secretary. That's it, and a head coach, sorry. And then we have officers to help fill out those positions. So we have something around 20 officers. Those go anywhere from like under the media aspect, so somebody over the Instagram, the Twitter. We have people that come and take photos for us, and then we have more coordinator roles too that allow in like assisting the admins with coordinating events and whatnot.
Okay, cool. So esports, it's obviously kind of a big kind of category. So what kind of games do you compete in?
So a lot of the games you're going to see are going to be FPS, which is like first-person shooters, or they're going to be MOBAs, which are like, not MOBAs, sorry. Stuff like League of Legends, where it's like kind of top-down, but it all revolves around like communication. So you're going to see stuff like Overwatch, Halo, Rocket League, League of Legends, stuff like that. That's going to be your main competitive scenes.
Yeah, okay. And what is your game of choice? Like if you have one game that you're like, oh, that is my game.
Dedicate myself to like competitively, that'd be Halo. I grew up on Halo, loved them. Multiplayer is always a blast with friends, but being able to translate that fun into the competitive scene, that's something else entirely because it's just a new aspect of the same game, and it's just super fun.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite Halo in general? Like just kind of all Halo across, or?
All Halo across is amazing, but my favorite Halo is going to be Halo Reach. That's the one I grew up on. That's when I started playing video games. Yeah. That was my like go-to game.
That's good. So how is the Esports Club involved on campus? I mean, I know you just go around like just with the controller in your hand, just kind of.
I wish it was that simple. There's a lot of paperwork to do, but besides that, we do like to have events. Like so, last last Sunday, sorry, we had a Smash Invitational where people would come in. They'd pay a venue fee and a tournament fee so they could come in and partake in the tournament. If you win, you get to bring home money. So simple things like that take about 2-3 weeks of coordination to get set up. Other things we do have our competitive members on our varsity teams, so they are signed student athletes. They'll have practices in the lab throughout the week where they're trying to hone their skills, work on their communication, and get ready for these tournaments they have coming up to actually progress and win them.
Yeah. Okay. So as president, how many hours would you say you spend in a week?
Probably around 30 or 40.
Wow.
Yeah, it's constant communication. I mean, I'm doing other things at the same time, whether I'm coding and stuff for my major, but I'll get a notification pop up, just respond to something as soon as I can. Planning out events, going to practices, watching over the organization in whole just takes time, but
Yeah.
it's good time.
Yeah. So with all of these hours put into the program, do you ever have any time to kind of just sit back and just kind of chillax with your own game? I know Lego Star Wars come out. I put a lot of hours into Lego Star Wars.
I wish I had the money for it right now, but it will be something I get eventually. But yeah, I've been playing a lot of Destiny lately. So I mean, you find the time, and again, I'm doing something while I'm still watching over the organization, so I can be playing Destiny, and if I get something pop up, Alt tab, look at the next screen, just respond when I can.
Yeah. So is it kind of a easy balance going like from back to, is it kind of more of a job? Do you still find enjoyment in
Oh
video
yeah, I
games?
definitely find enjoyment in it. I wouldn't consider it too much as a job because I do want to lead more than manage. And it's something that revolves around something else that I love. So I love video games and I love the competitive aspect of it. So getting to do something on a daily basis with that makes it feel a lot less like a job and more like I'm doing something with it.
Yeah. I usually go into Minecraft every couple months. And
Everybody goes in those binges.
Yeah. And so that's actually a really great point. After the break, join us as we go into a little bit more about the teams and what we do from that. So stay tuned. Welcome back to All Access. Here we have SFA Esports President Patrick Holub, and we will look at why esports changes traditional gameplay into a more competitive and unique experience for players and fans. So here we have, looks like some kind of a map. So what kind of strategy would you go into esports?
So, number one, communication. As with everything, communication is vastly important because calling out where an enemy is or where you're headed or when something is coming up or when your abilities are ready. It's going to be very important to your other teammates to know what's happening so you can understand what the game dynamic is going to be for the rest of the game.
Yeah. Okay. And so how how do you prepare? How do you go in? How do you coach that? Do you just have oh, you messed up. Give me 5 push-ups. Drop and give me 5. How does that go into?
It's really drilling and communication over and over and over again. So your initial practice, what you're going to do is you're going to come in, you're going to see how the team plays together. You're going to have your tryouts, who works together well, who's better at the game than other people. Once you get that initial team set up, you're going to go through about a week of practices. And that week of practices is essentially going to be communication. You're going to be working on your communication and your dynamic with your teammates. After that, you're going into drilling over and over and over again. For your specific game, you're going to realize what you need to work on what maps once you go into scrimmages and tournaments and stuff like that, because you can pull the VOD and you can review it, say, we messed up here, this is what we need to work on this week, and you can adjust accordingly for your coming games.
Yeah, okay. So do you think you maybe kind of explain this map here and kind of the strategy behind it? It all looks like a bunch of mumbo jumbo to me, so can you explain that a little bit for us?
That's not a problem. So a lot of people might not know what's really going on here, but if you play Halo Infinite, you might. This is Live Fire. It's a map on Infinite. And essentially what this board is describing is our positioning starting off a game when we're going in.
Okay.
So it works for Strongholds. It's also going to work for your Slayer games and Oddball, all different game types within Infinite. But if we're talking strictly Slayer, this is our layout here for the map. 3 main sides. You have your courtyard, you have mid, and then over here you have your scoreboard and brutes. So essentially what we're doing here is looking at positioning.
Okay.
So you can see here these circles with X's, those are going to be marking our players. We have player 1 and player 2. They're going to be moving over to courtyard off a spawn, which is way back here. They're going to be able to see these sight lines and get info on where the enemy is, because starting off a game is going to be vastly important where you're getting that info from, Player 3 is going to have the most important job coming to Overlook because they're going to have to watch the sniper, which is a power weapon that comes up. And then player 4 is going to be at Overlook, and they're going to be watching Overshield or Active Camo in the corner. So starting off a game here, the first 30 seconds to a minute is super important because you want to get as much information as you can and pull it for your teammates. That way you know where the enemy's headed and what they're going to be doing throughout the rest of the game.
Yeah, so I feel like just kind of looking at this, it takes like a lot of time and effort into just kind of understanding. Like, I bet, I think it probably vastly differs from being just kind of back at home. I mean, I know I kind of play a little bit here and there. How do tournaments differ from just me sitting back at home playing Fortnite? Like, how does?
Well, it's going to be much more structured, and you're going to have your teammates there by your side. Playing alone, playing at home with friends and stuff, it's going to be a much more like chill kind of dynamic where you're just kind of playing to relax and have fun. Whereas when you're playing competitively in a tournament, you're playing to have fun, but you're also playing to win. You want to win those games to the fullest extent you can.
Yeah. Okay. So there's there's two different teams, right? There's Varsity and Club. Can you kind of explain the difference between that?
Yeah, so our varsity team for the organization, those are signed student athletes because they're viewed through NACE, which is the National Association of Collegiate Esports. We basically have a contract with them that states we'll have these teams that'll play in these tournaments on these dates. They can win money in these tournaments. They play competitively. They have practice hours in the lab that they go through. So these are our like seasons for our teams.
Okay.
The club aspect is for anybody that isn't on varsity or does not want to be on varsity to have a little bit more chill scenario in the esports scene. So they're still playing competitively, but it's a little bit more relaxed. So they can find like one-off tournaments from like random providers that can give them that experience.
Okay. So you said the club teams, they're the ones that go out and play these tournaments. How are these tournaments structured? Do you just kind of go in and start playing? Like, how does that work?
So you'll sign up because there'll be a sign-up period. And then after that, they'll release how they're going to structure it, whether it's going to be single elimination, double elimination, a Swedish bracket, round robin. It's vastly up to the tournament provider. And they'll have that laid out in the contract and when you're signing up and how that's going to be like, or how they're going to process that. So typically it's going to be a game a week for X amount of weeks, and then at the end we'll go into playoffs, and it'll turn into single elimination and playoffs to where if you lose, you're out, but if you win, you keep going. Until you win the whole thing.
So that's definitely something I'm going to have to like start taking a look in because I definitely want to hop back into the video game world. But that's all the time we have. Thank you for joining us today. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, not a problem.
Thank you for watching us today on SFA All Access. Join us next time for a very interesting interview for another organization. Thank you.